In my presentation, I will talk about loose human bones which come from hunter-gatherer Stone Age sites, Dudka and Szczepanki, and English loose human bones. Thank you. Both sites are located on islands on the former lake Stashin, which is now a pit bog. Dudka was a bigger island located here, and Szczepanki site is located in this place. Both sites were settled from late Paleolithic until the end of the Stone Age, so until the end of late Neolithic. And their economy was based on hunting and gathering until the end of Neolithic. So the change which appear in Paraneolithic time, it is appearance of pottery and a little change in settlement strategy, because they changed seasonal camps to year-round settlements on the island. At Dudka site, we have discovered probably main cemetery for local hunters, and the very important features of this cemetery is large number of cremated individuals, which is unique for Mesolithic and Paraneolithic cemeteries, and also very large share of secondary burials, which predominate over primary ones, and the primary burials were usually put in sitting position, and most of graves at the cemetery are collective, and different kinds of burials could be put in one pit. So sitting burial with secondary deposits, it's something normal for Dudka cemetery. And from both sides we have a lot of pieces of human bones. Most of them come from Dudka cemetery, but we have almost 600 of loose human bones which were found in settlement areas of Dudka, and over 50 bones from Szczepanki. And loose human bones appear in the Mesolithic layers, but they are much more frequent in Paraneolithic time, so I will talk mostly about this period of the settlement. What multi-step burial rites are? We can speak about multi-step burial when we put or deposit the body of the dead in somewhere to the time of soft tissue decomposition. When the soft tissue disappeared, bones were collected, and they were transported to the cemetery and deposited as secondary burial. Some of these human remains could be also kept at the settlement, so we can also find some bones which could be interpreted as memorabilia of dead ancestors. For some individuals, the cemetery was not the last step of the burial, right? Because we have evidences of burials which were disturbed purposely in the Stone Age, and some bones were taken out, or even whole skeletons. And the cremation is also a kind of multi-step burial, when we just collect bones and deposit them at the cemetery as a secondary deposit. So loose human bones could be connected with different steps, different ritual behaviors, and their anatomical structure and the context in which loose human bones were found will be helpful to interpret if they are remnants of temporary burials, remnants of disturbed or emptied graves, or are just bones which were kept at the settlement. From the cemetery we have a lot of fragments of bones, but most of them are cremated remains, and after analysis I interpreted them as burials which were not put into the pit, but were just deposited on the cemetery ground surface. So later the bones were just scattered over the full cemetery. And some of graves were also destroyed by modern flooding, so I have almost 500 of pieces of bones could be connected with graves, but we have still a lot of loose human bones which need an interpretation because they are not connected with formal graves. To this group belong very numerous pieces of skulls. They are mostly cranial fragments, and in different colors are marked distinguished skulls. So we can see that one skull could be spread over a lot of square meters on the cemetery. I suppose that these skulls are also some kind of secondary burial or separate deposit which was just placed on the surface, on the ground of the cemetery, not in the pit. And we have some evidences from the grave that skulls were put just on the top of the grave. So maybe these old skulls were just put on the grave and they were destroyed later. Except of these skulls, we have also some strange human bones which could be also interpreted as secondary burial. Very unique one is one human tooth which was covered with tartar carapax, and it was deposited just on the cemetery ground surface near to one of the pits. And we have also one pit when one human rib was found with grave roots, one pit with whole occipital bone. So we have also something which we don't call formal graves, but after analysis we can also interpret such context as secondary burials. Another example how to interpret these human bones at the cemetery is the possibility that some graves were disturbed and bones were taken purposely out. And at least 60 individuals could be connected with such a practice. You have bones from two most evident examples of such empty graves. So very regular rounded pits with very fragmented small elements of the skeleton which were found on the bottom of the pit, and they were grave roots as well. So this is another possibility why we have loose human bones at the cemetery. And now we move to the trend number 4, which is probably a periphery of the cemetery, but in this area the settlement activity was very intensive in late Neolithic time, so probably the graves which were located here were just destroyed by this activity. And we have one cluster of human bones in this part, maybe this the rest of a primary burial, and the second cluster of bones in this area, there are mixed different bones of postcranial skeleton and at least 3 mandibles. I interpret it as possible secondary burial because this anatomical structure is very similar to anatomical structure of secondary burial. So we have mostly big bones, more resilient, and all small elements of the skeleton are lost. And very important are mandibles, which are very frequent in secondary burials, and there we have at least 3, maybe 4 mandibles which could be connected with this possibly destroyed burial, destroyed grave. And now another area of Dudka site is Eastern Vine trench number 3, and it is the trench which yielded a lot of loose human bones. And they appeared here in the Mesolithic layers from the early Mesolithic, but they are not numerous at the time. A little more bones come from early Sedman period, but large increase in loose human bones number we have for the classic Sedman period and for post-Sedman. And we have here two zones where bones were found. It is plateau of the island, so the flat area which was used for settlement purposes. So we can expect here bones which were kept at the settlement, and this practice was probably mostly connected with post-settlement period. And the sloping shore between the settlement and the lake were probably temporary burials well deposited, and this practice started in the early Mesolithic and it was most intensive in classic Sedman time. There are human bones which were found in Mesolithic layers. Very interesting examples from the early Mesolithic because human bones were found together with very unique amber adornments. One of these possible burial was located just at the coastline, so it is possible that it's maybe not temporary burial, but washout burials, which was destroyed by the storms and by the waters of the lake. And here we have distribution of loose human bones in the classic Sedmar period. Here all parts of the skeleton are generally represented. We have also small elements of skeleton like bones of food. So we can say that we have just a material which was randomly lost from the skeleton where bones were collected and taken to the main cemetery. And these burials were probably located in the upper part of this sloping shore, and some bones were moved down. And except of the small fragments of bones and small elements of skeleton, we have here also several full long bones or full bones of the skull, which are too big to be just overlooked and lost. So I think they were just left purposefully at the temporary burial place. They remain in more or less anatomical relation to each other, so we can reconstruct more or less how the bodies were deposited. And one example is also probably washout burials, because we have clavicle and bone here located, and foot bones in this area, which was in the littoral zone. Different situation and different anatomical structure is connected with post-Sedmar Neolithic layers, because we have here clear dominance of the skulls. We have at least 9 skulls, but only one postcranial skeleton. So it is very visible that we have a selection of the material. So I suppose that here we have mostly skulls which were just kept at the settlement. We have almost no teeth for these skulls and no mandibles. So these were just skulls were just bring to this area and were more or less damaged at that time. And very similar pattern could be observed on trench 1, located here. Human bones were found also on the plateau, on the flat area, which was very intensively used for settlement purposes. And here we have also mostly human skulls, but they are fragmented, and some of them are probably accidentally exposed to the fire. So I think it is material which was just mixed with refuse material and was trampled and scattered within the settlement area. So in fact, these bones could be just older than the layer in which they were found. And as the last very important location where we found loose human bones is Szczepanki site. Loose human bones were found in sector E, and it is very similar location to this trench number 3 at Dudka. So we have here a sloping shore, and human bones were found between this settlement area and the lake. And we have mostly small skeletal elements, but also full long bones, so similarly as it was at Dudka. It is very interesting that just at the coast and near to the coastline, we have found some skeletons of dogs, which were more or less washed out. So this was area where dog burials were deposited, but human temporary burials were located higher at the hill, at the slope. In the sector S, we have one mandible which was found in a dwelling structure, so it is probably the evidence of keeping mandible at the settlement at home. One bone of a newborn baby could be a remnant of the grave because of fragility of the newborn skeletons. And it is also very interesting because we have from Szczepanki 2 primary burials, and both are burials of 6-month-old children. So maybe small children were just buried at the settlement where they died, and they were not moved to the main cemetery, because at the main cemetery at Dudka I have no children younger than 2 years old, so these small children were not involved in this multi-step burial rite. And here is the picture of bones which were found at Szczepanki site. We have a lot of loose teeth, mostly maxillary. Skulls are represented by very small fragments, so it is not like at Dudka that some skulls could be reconstructed. No, here we have only very small pieces of skulls. And for summing up and for conclusion, the examples of Dudka show that we are able to interpret those human bones, and according to the context in which they were found and the anatomical structure of remains, we can talk about temporary burial, where we have elements from different parts of skeleton. We have small bones which could be easily overlooked and lost. Bones are companion were found with some breast adornment. So there are things. It seems that we have temporary burials, and they are very similar to emptied graves. So in case of emptied graves, we have also only small elements of the skeleton which were lost. We have also grave roots, but the difference between these two interpretations is location. So temporary burials are somewhere at the settlement, but emptied graves or temporary graves, in fact, are located just at the cemetery. And from the settlement, we have selected material, so big and resilient bones, or very characteristic bones. So skulls were predominating, and mandibles, and they were probably kept at the settlement. And these remains are similar to secondary burials at the cemetery, but again, the location gives us evidence how to interpret these remains. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your talk. For me, I'm a specialist for this period. It's very interesting because I cannot imagine how complex these burial rites existed at the time. And maybe if we have time, if I can, I would ask you about two questions. Did I understand well that, for example, at Dudka site, there are several phases of occupation? You mentioned four time groups.
Both sites were occupied from late Paleolithic until the late Neolithic, and it was almost constant occupation.
Okay. And my question is related to the dating of these individual pieces, because if you speak, for example, about the memorabilia on the surface where settlement activities occur, how do you date this? How do you correlate it with the individual time?
Loose human bones were found in layers, which are more or less dated to given periods. So I just use stratigraphy for this division. But the problem is with these layers post-sedmar late Neolithic, because it is more or less mixed material, and some bones appear to be older than these layers. So in this case, I need IML date for be sure of the age of material, but I have still no result, because we have problems with collagen preservation, so it is not easy to date directly this material. So, but the bones which were found deeper and in not disturbed layers could be just affiliated to the period according to the stratigraphy.
I understand, but I probably missed the information that you have to stratigraphy there. Okay. And the second, is it possible to correlate any specific burial rite with a specific time or specific culture?
No.
For example,
no. It seems that it was the special burial rite which was practiced locally through Stone Age. I'm a stage of cremation, and according to this, the cremation appeared in Paleolithic times, and it's mostly connected with plastic martyrium. So maybe the cremation is something was invented in the Paleolithic, but I think it was also the local invention, because this was supplementary ritual to this all complex pattern which we have at Dudka and Szczepanki. So,
Somebody else, please, well, the question comes to me, was it the same population?
yeah, that's probably
You mean from like Paleolithic to the like Neolithic?
we have constant settlement at the site, so I think it was continuously. Maybe they were some in the Paleolithic times. We have influences from Neolithic, so the exchange of people probably was, but yeah, they are most locally, and they have the same tradition from the Mesolithic to Paleolithic, so they keep very conservative in this burial time.
Yes, I will say that it's a very nice question. From my point of view, it will be an adaptation to the seasonality. You cannot easily dig when the soil is frozen, for example. But
it could be.
My question is no. I wanted to ask you, did you mention scavenging functions?
No.
Did you remark some scavenging?
No. I have no remarks of activity of animals. Only rodents. Sometimes I have traces of rodents of some bones.
Some pictures reminds me a lot what we have seen of foxes, and they like human beings.
No. I have no such traces. I think these temporary burials must be somehow protected, or maybe they were just in shallow pits. So.
Must be protected, not?
Thank you very much. I think my wife will not jump to
thank you.
another song. Carolina, thank you very much.